The AtGames Legends Ultimate 4KP is on again. Or is it? All right, that's right, guys. You've heard earlier this week, and we've talked about it a little bit here on the channel, and you've seen it on other channels in Home Arcade covering the announcement that the AtGames Legends Ultimate 4KP is back on again. It is indeed not canceled. It is coming out. And if you remember, a little over a year ago, AtGames announced the Legends Ultimate 4KP with the lead title on this multicade being, of course, Killer Instinct and Killer Instinct 2. The cabinet featured a new design, more dynamic artwork. Gone is the collage that the 4K or the Legends Ultimate is known for, but otherwise very similar. Of course, we've got that 16:9 screen, the beefier hardware to support 4K gaming, which, you know, we've kind of talked about over the last year. Seems pointless for retro games, but apparently it's all about the pinball. But earlier this week, as we've said, they dropped the announcement that it is back on. It is definitely coming out. No date yet specified, but now it appears the shape may have changed. And of course, P-Dub's Arcade Loft talked about this yesterday and confirmed from inside sources and former employees of AtGames that indeed that Killer Instinct design, that new shape, is gone, and they're reverting back to that swan design, which, quite frankly, in my opinion, doesn't really go well with the home arcade aesthetic, but to each their own. I know people really like the original ALU, and so some people are looking forward to this cabinet, but I wouldn't get too eager, because it seems like there may be some more changes ahead for this cabinet. That's right, it seems that potentially AtGames and their developer working on the Killer Instinct emulation for the AtGames Legends Ultimate may have parted ways. Now, let's get into this story just a little bit that is coming from Time Extension, and it is from an independent developer that was contracted by an unnamed company to create a emulator for Killer Instinct 1 and Killer Instinct 2 that could run on lower end hardware of varying sizes, right? Because they probably want it to also run on the original ALU, that would feature online play, enhanced rollback, all this stuff. And you might be saying, but James, Arcade 1-Up already did this. Didn't Code Mystics build a Killer Instinct emulator that not only had rollback but had spectate mode? And I would say yes, they did. You are right. But apparently, what I'm being told is that AtGames and Code Mystics don't exactly get along, that there was some rough business dealings in the past between the two companies. So let's jump into it real quick. It says, when Nintendo did a good job of convincing people that the arcade version of Rare's original Killer Instinct was running on the exact same hardware that would power the N64, the reality is the arcade fighter was actually powered by a custom hardware created in collaboration between Rare and Midway, which uses a 64-bit MIPS CPU. While Killer Instinct is playable in MAME, programmer Rich Whitehouse recently revealed that he has been working on something for more accurate and impressive, a custom emulator designed to run Killer Instinct and its coin-op sequel as faithfully as possible, but with some cool bonus features. The bad news is the client who commissioned his work has now pulled its funding, leaving the project in limbo. I'm sad to say that funding has been pulled on my KI-2 emulator, says Whitehouse, who is head of digital conservation for the Video Game History Foundation and created the big PEMU Jaguar emulator. However, I still want to make this thing. I love KI. I'm pretty far along, and this emulator beats everything in terms of accuracy, speed, functionality. I've already implemented what might be the fastest MIPS 3 interpreter in existence, which achieves better frame time than MAME running KI with Dynarec. Achieving this without any manner of Dynarec, JIT, AOT is no easy task, but it's still going to get even faster. And of course, here's basically where he says that. And he's out there pushing people to support his project through his Patreon. White House adds that the emulator features interesting techniques, which I haven't seen anywhere else, that he's keeping it all close to the vest for now so that companies will have to actually pay me to achieve this kind of platform agnostic performance. We'll see if anyone ever does. One of the most significant features of White House's Killer Instinct emulator is the introduction of NetPlay with rollback netcode. This isn't just standard chuggy ass rollback, he says. The frame times allow for a huge rollback window even on inferior hardware, and no local hitches even when correcting for input changes occurring 5+ frames back in time. He adds that big PEMU scripting system has also come a long way, blah 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 blah. White House is adamant he wants to complete this labor of love despite losing funding. The client who'd agreed to license the emulator, indirectly funding its creation, ended up attaching more work to the contract. They wouldn't move forward with the emulator by itself and wouldn't pay more than around 25 to 50% of the industry standard rate for the extra work. Losing funding was a big blow financially, and I haven't found anything to fill the gap. To make it happen, White House is asking for donations to his Patreon, and he can commit valuable time to finish off his project. If you'd like to see the most accurate, feature-rich Killer Instinct emulator become a reality, then be sure to support him. And I've put a link below to his Patreon in the description. But what you see here is an unnamed company contracted him to essentially license an emulator, and he set out to build it. Now, as you recall, the AtGames Legends Ultimate 4KP was supposed to be released in Q4. Here we are at the tail end of Q1 of 2025 for up to 6-month delay in the release of the AtGames ALU 4K. Could the reason the delay occurred be this? That this developer's work on the emulator that AtGames absolutely needs to run this game and to provide the online play that we all desire is so far behind schedule that ultimately they made the decision just to pull funding completely. Now, I reached out to Rich White House and I asked him, was the company you were working with AtGames? And he responded, unfortunately, he responded that he can neither confirm nor deny any company that was working on this project. So I'll let you read into that what you will. But if you ask yourself, what companies do you know of that have the Killer Instinct license, have been out there promoting a new system, a hardware-based system to play Killer Instinct on? And I think it becomes pretty clear who this company is. So without an emulator to run Killer Instinct with online play, did AtGames go back to Code Mystics hat in hand and beg them? From what I'm told is Code Mystics is really not a fan of AtGames and doesn't want to work with them moving forward. So I don't know that that happened. It's certainly possible, but it doesn't seem likely, which either means AtGames has found someone else and that would have been in short order, or potentially they are just not going to release Killer Instinct, or rather they might revert to the main version of Killer Instinct and you won't get any online play. So it's very interesting to me that this news comes on the heels of the announcement of the new design. I mean, we're talking just days apart. The new design look on their website, followed by this announcement that a developer of a unique KI emulator that was being funded specifically by a company, not a labor of love, but he was contracted for commercial purposes to create this emulator, and they've canceled the project on him. Really seems very coincidental, and I do not believe in coincidences. So what do you guys think? Is the AtGames Legends Ultimate 4KP going to still come out as that Killer Instinct branded ALU that we saw over a year ago? Or is Killer Instinct dead and we're just going to get the same typical game lineup from the old ALU, but simply with the new hardware and maybe some new 4K pinball tables thrown in there? Let me know in the chat below. As always, please like the video, subscribe, ring the bell for notifications, all that YouTube stuff, because it really does help the channel. Share this with your friends. It's the best way to help the channel grow. And as always, until next time, have fun.